I will read each sentence and we'll see whether it is clear. So I start reading. In the first 6 chapters, the Gita lays a large foundation for its synthesis of works and knowledge. Okay. The two seem to be opposites because when you are doing Sankhya philosophy, it is the Jnana Yoga path and you have to concentrate in the mind and go only to Purusha and reject Prakriti. The body, mind, life, you say, I am not this, I am not this. But works, you are identified with your works, but you are offering the works to the divine. That's the yoga path. And Vedanta is also, of course, is the it's a synthesis. So, works and knowledge, synthesis of Sankhya, Yoga, and Vedanta. Okay. The difference between Sankhya and Vedanta is Sankhya thinks that the soul is the real thing and Prakriti at the bottom level, they are always existing together, but they are in touch with each other, but they are separate. Whereas in the Vedanta, they are actually at the highest level, they are totally one. In the lower levels, they are separate. It's true because my soul is quite different from my body, mind, life. So at the lower level, Vedanta agrees with Sankhya. But at the highest level of consciousness, because we have spoken about a gradation, if you remember, at the highest level, the difference between Purusha and Prakriti, soul and body, mind, life, becomes one. There is no more difference. The difference disappears. Okay, so that's what he's saying. So in the first 6 chapters, Gita is laying the foundation. It will go into details later on. In the next 18 chapters are there in the Gita, 666. Okay, so actually, if you start, there are many people who do Gita Parayana, just like our Savitri. The continuous reading. And if one person can't read continuously, they have a relay. Okay. Savitri, of course, is very, very big, nearly 800, 900 pages. But Gita can be done in 2 hours. Okay. So, it is in the first 6 chapters, it is laying the foundation. But first, it is the Gita. It finds that karma, works, has a particular sense in the language of the Vedantists. So, what does it mean? It means the Vedic sacrifices and ceremonies, or at most, than the ordering of life according to the Grihya Sutra. I think we have done this, no? Don't you think we have done this?
We have read it, but we have not done it.
Okay. All right. So
you had given the introduction, Rangada. That's why you may be feeling the introduction of the chapter.
Yeah, that's right. The Grihya Sutras. Okay. And the ordering of life according to the Grihya Sutras, in which these rites are the most important part. That's in the Vedantin. Who is the Vedantin? The one who uses the mantras of the Veda for physical benefit, for happiness, prosperity, wealth, and a good family in the physical world. They use these mantras. They are the Vedantins. And that's why Vedic sacrifices only karma. Vedic sacrifices and ceremonies, okay? The outer ceremonies. That is the most important. And it has got a certain importance also because, as I said, we discussed last time, the mantras have to be pronounced in the right way. Okay, I remember in one of the Sanskrit texts that we read, it's I think it is Bhartrihari, or somebody else, I don't remember exactly who, but in our Sanskrit class we were doing, and it is said that the mantras also must be recited with the correct pronunciation and the correct way. Because if you don't do that, the sound varies, and the sound is very important. The sound, as we know, sound can be destructive or it can be very constructive. So mantras have the power to be constructive. They can construct your construct means actually build up, okay, your consciousness. And it is very interesting. I got a video the other day where one gentleman, an Indian, is explaining to the Western one European or an American that he experimented with 3 plants, okay, A, B, C. In the first one, he put in one room, the other one he put in the other room altogether, and another third in another third room. And the first one, they went on giving beautiful, this is a well-known thing, but I am repeating. He went on giving beautiful, you are so beautiful, you will grow wonderfully, you are, look at the color of your leaves, that went on. Okay, it's just a small plant. And in the other one, they did not do anything. And in the third one, they gave the wrong vibrations. You are hopeless, you will never be able to succeed and all that. And fine, I'll send that video to all of you. It's very interesting. Okay. And at the end of a certain time, when they saw the plant A, which was being praised, had grown tall and beautiful, and the one that was being cursed had not even germinated properly. So sound has got a fantastic value. We know that. Yeah? In Annamalai University, they experimented with paddy fields. They played beautiful classical music, and the yield was wonderful. And there was no, the insects were less, and the yield was much better than, even the quantity of yield was much better. So this is, you have to do in the correct place. There is a certain importance even in this, simply the outer ceremonies also. Then we are saying, or at the most, that in the ordering of life, according to the Grihya Sutras. The Grihya Sutras, we have said that there are mantras for everything, for the opening of a conference, or the opening of a house, the opening, and the first time the child is being introduced into education, or the first time he takes a solid food, all these things, they are governed by the Grihya Sutras, in which these rites are the most important part, the religious kernel of the life. Okay, religious kernel, not spiritual. By works, the Vedantins understood these religious works, the sacrificial system, the yajna, full of a careful order, vidhi, okay, of exact and complicated rites. Kriya Vishesha Bahulam. They are very complicated. They have to be done in the right way and the right time also. There is even a time for all these things. Just like in Indian music, each raga is maximum effect is there only at a certain time. There are evening ragas, there are morning ragas. Okay, so Kriya Vishesha Bahulam, exactly the same. But in yoga, okay, in yoga, karma yoga, works had a much wider significance. It is not restricted only to Vedic sacrifices and ceremonies and yajnas, but work means any work you do in the physical world can be turned to the purpose of yoga. The Gita insists on this wider significance. Don't limit it only to certain types of works. Every work that you do can be turned to the divine. Then that is in the yoga. So he has given you interpretation of karma in the Vedic sacrifices. Then in the Gita is much wider. Now what Swami is saying, in our conception, the third one, that is the integral yoga. In our conception of spiritual activity, all works have to be included. Sarva karmani. Anything that you do. Okay? Even if I use a little banal language, even when you are having a bath, okay, or even cleaning your teeth, you must remember the divine and offer it to him. At the same time, it does not, like Buddhism, reject the idea of the sacrifice. Buddhism is saying all these things are useless. Not only Buddhism, but many other systems also. Okay, even our Arya Samaj also, they say all these things have no importance at all. It prefers to uplift and to enlarge it. So, although integral yoga and the Gita agree that all the works are at a lower level, but don't keep it at a lower level. Make it holy, make it consecrate it, and raise it to the level of a spiritual life. That's what is being said. Okay, don't reject the idea Uplift it and enlarge it. How do you uplift it? By remembering and offering to the Lord. Okay. Yes, it says in effect. Okay. Gita, it says in effect, not only is sacrifice, yajna, the most important part of life, but all works should be regarded as sacrifice. Then it becomes the most powerful, because every action that you do, you are thinking of the Lord, and that becomes sacred. Our yajna, though by the ignorant, they are performed without the higher knowledge, and by the most ignorant, not in the true order. Avidhi purvakam. There's a certain sequence that you should do it in. Even if you don't do it in the right sequence, the effect will not be the same. That's what is being said. Even in the physical world, any work that you do, there's a correct sequence. And if that sequence you don't do, then the effect is very little. So I remember a very funny story about sequence. Okay, it's a little digression, but we had a gentleman called Fonida. He was a Bengali man, and he had a very interesting experience when he went first time to Sri Lanka. He had an awakening. Okay, so this man used to work in the proofreading department, okay, in the press. And one day he told me a very interesting thing. He said, I was having a bad cold and cough, and I went to the dispensary, and they told me, gargle with hot water. I don't know if I've told you this, but it's very funny. But it's also got a certain significance. So he said, I did that, but I'm seeing that there is no effect. Okay, there is no effect. I'm not being able to cure myself. Then I started intelligently, the irony in the story, intelligently looking as to why there was no effect of my gargling with hot water. And then I found that what I was doing was, first of all, I am putting the hot water in my throat, and then I am spitting it out into the sink, and then I'm doing sequence is wrong. So naturally, the effect will not be there. It's a very funny story, but it is illustrative of the fact that there has to be a sequence to everything in the correct way. Okay, any work that you do, there has to be a sequence. If the sequence is wrong, it's a very ordinary thing, but it is absolutely true. Normally, we do the sequence very automatically, but in certain things, we don't do automatically. We mix up the sequence. Then the effect is less. That's what is being said. Avidhi purvakam. Ignorant, not in the true order. Okay? It's important enough for Sadhu to even mention it, and the Gita also is mentioning it. You have to do it in the right sequence. Okay. Sacrifice is a very condition of life. Okay. With sacrifice as their eternal companion, the father of creatures, okay, Pitamaha, okay, created the people, Brahman. Okay. But the sacrifices of the Vedavadins, okay, the Vedantins and the Vedavadins are different. The Vedavadins are those who do it only for the results in the physical world. Okay, are offerings of desire directed towards material rewards. Desire eager for the result of works. You are wanting the fruit of your yajna. Desire looking for a larger enjoyment in paradise as immortality and highest salvation. They believe in God and they believe in the other worlds, but there also I want to enjoy. Okay. This idea is very much there in Islam. Okay, when this physical world is nothing, the real world is up there, and when you go there, all the enjoyments that you are not getting here, you will get there. That's a very, very strong idea in Islam. And that is the reason why these terrorists, uneducated fellows from the villages are taken up and told them that you will enjoy there if you do what we are telling you to do. So you have to kill the kafirs. And they believe it has got such a power. Okay. So that's what is being said here. Enjoyment in paradise is immortality and highest salvation. Okay. So this is the system of the Gita that the Gita cannot admit. The Gita cannot think that making sacrifices only for physical gains in the physical world is not valid. That's what Gita is saying. For that in its very inception starts with the renunciation of desire. In the Gita, the beginning of everything is a renunciation of desire, with its rejection and destruction as the enemy of the soul. So, desire is the enemy of the soul. So, you have to reject it. The Gita does not deny the validity even of the Vedic sacrificial works. This we discussed also last time, that the Gita does not reject anything. Okay, life in the physical world is valid. Religious life is valid. Spiritual life is valid. Everything is valid at its own level. That's what the important. There are 4 standards of conduct, and all of them are valid. The Gita does not deny the validity even of the Vedic sacrificial works. It admits them. It admits that by these means one may get enjoyment here and paradise beyond. It is I myself, says the divine teacher, who accept these sacrifices and to whom they are offered. It is I who give these fruits in the form of the gods, since so men chose to approach me. So, if you approach the divine for anything in the real spirit, you will get what you're asking for. But there are implications. You may be asking for something which the divine may grant you, but you may have to suffer for it because you're asking for the wrong thing. And the divine may give it to you if you are an ordinary person to make you understand that what you're asking is not the right thing. But will the divine, when you are surrendered to him fully, will give you what you desire? May or may not. It's an interesting case. It depends because you are surrendered to the divine. The divine knows what's best for you. In your ignorance, you may ask for something. Okay? So, the outer action does not matter. It's the inner spirit with which you do that matters. I was quite surprised one day when I heard that mother had given a bottle of pickles okay, to Satyendra. Satyendra was a dentist who never practiced and he used to live opposite the playground. Okay, some of you may have surely seen him. I think Pallavi and Tarika may have seen him.
Yeah.
You remember? He's always
Silence
only,
speaks.
Yes.
Silence speaks.
White dhoti.
yeah, and bare body on top. Satyendra.
Yes.
He only wrote Silence Speaks, no? Or no? I'm mistaken. Silence speaks.
Speaks.
No. That is Girdhar Lal.
Oh, that is Girdhar Lal. Okay.
Girdhar Lal.
I was confused.
Yeah, that is Girdhar Lal. Anyway, so mother is giving a bottle of pickles to him. Pickles is not something very, it promotes desire. Anyway, so the divine can give you what you want, okay? And if it is given to you and it is not very, you will benefit if you are in a spiritual consciousness. But if you are really in a spiritual consciousness, actually you may not even ask for it. Your desires will be the right ones and not the wrong ones. So this is what Srimdev is saying here in the Gita. The Gita does not deny the validity even of the Vedic sacrificial works. It admits them. It admits that by these means one may get enjoyment here and paradise beyond. Even that is possible. You may get enjoyment here. It is I myself, says the divine teacher, who accept these sacrifices and to whom they are offered. I who give these fruits in the form of the gods, since men choose to approach me. But this is not the true road, nor is the enjoyment of paradise the liberation and fulfillment which man has to seek. It is the ignorant who worship the gods, not knowing whom they are worshipping ignorantly in these forms. In India, it's very, very common that when you go to a temple and put hundi, in the hundi you put, you put some money and you make a prayer, you ask for something. It's not at all unusual. Okay, but that is not the right way. You can put the money in the hundi, but ask for the right thing. But normally people don't ask for the right thing. Okay. In fact, it goes so far in all the temples. A priest is standing near the idol and you put money in his plate and he asks you, what do you want? Okay. For whom are you asking for something? Then if you say, I want my daughter to get a good husband, then he will make a prayer to the divine. The priest is the one who is a go-between between the divine and the ordinary human being. So this is the form of the gods. That's why I'm mentioning. Okay. The gods give you what you want. The divine does that through the gods, who are the intermediaries. But this is not the true road, nor is the enjoyment of paradise the liberation and fulfillment which man has to seek. It is the ignorant who worship the gods, not knowing whom they are worshipping ignorantly in these divine forms. The divine forms, the idols or the photographs or whatever. Okay, there are many people who keep photographs of even ordinary. Their gurus also, they keep photographs. Okay, or you can keep also photographs of the gurus. For they are worshipping those in ignorance, the one, the Lord, the only Deva, and it is He who accepts their offering. Through the gods or through your gurus or whatever, ultimately it is going to the divine, and the divine is again offering through the gods and through to whomever you are asking. It's very common for Ganesh. Okay, you do that through Ganesh. I want wealth, or I want my Vigneshwara. He is a remover of obstacles. So you ask for all those type of things. Success in your business, happiness in your family, things like that. I read the next sentence. To that Lord must a sacrifice be offered, not to the gods. The Gita says, to that Lord, El Cap, supreme being, the Ishvara, not to the gods at the overmind level. But the sacrifice, to that Lord must a sacrifice be offered. The true sacrifice of the life's, all the life's energies and activities, with devotion, without desire, for His sake and for the welfare of the peoples. Now, the welfare of the peoples is the Gita's idea, and there are two phrases there which constitute this idea, that you can do that for the Loka Hite Rata. You have to be engaged in the good of everybody. Also, Loka Sangrahanartham, to maintain the laws in the physical world. Because if you have to do that, the harmony in the physical world must continue. So these are the two phrases which Srivastava is saying in this way. He's saying for the welfare of the peoples. This is not Srivastava speaking, this is the Gita. It is because the Vedavada obscures this truth, and with its tangle of ritual ties, ties man down to the action of the three gunas. The three gunas, sattva, rajas, tamas. Or if you want, identification with the body, life and mind. That it has to be so severely censured and put roughly aside. This is why the Gita is criticizing not the Veda, but the use of the Vedas by the Vedavadins, the one who want only the outer sacrifices. But the three gunas that it has to so severely censure, criticize, and put roughly aside. But its central idea is not destroyed. That means sacrifice is valid, but not only in the physical sacrifice. It has to be a psychological sacrifice. Transfigured and uplifted, it is turned into a most important part of the true spiritual experience and the method of liberation. That's the reason why in the synthesis of yoga, there are 80 pages on the sacrifice. And what is meant by sacrifice? The offering to the Lord of everything that you do. Your thoughts, your emotions, and your actions also, with the will and the body. So then, when you are offering to the Lord, two things or three things happen. One, you are doing it constantly for the Lord and not for yourself. So slowly the egoism, the strings and the strands get frittered out and they become weak and finally they disappear. So ego disappears and you get the benefit of the connection with the Supreme. Okay. If I have to talk to somebody, I need a connection. I need a connection. If I have to establish a connection with the divine, I have to create that connection. Okay. And it is prayer and offering and sacrifice that creates a connection. And once a connection is made, you receive very clearly the communication through your effort which you have built up. The connection is there and you get everything without distortion. Otherwise, he is constantly giving you. He is constantly giving you. But you are not able to receive because you have not built the connection properly. He is constantly giving. You are not receiving. Okay. So that's the thing. So very clearly in this para, 1.5 page para, he is telling you that there are two ways of sacrifice. The wrong way and the right way. The wrong way is to limit only to the physical rites and physical ceremonies. But even that for success has to be done in the right way. Vidhi Purvakam, not Avidhi Purvakam. It has to be done in the right sequence in the right way. And then you get some benefit. But even that benefit is very limited. If you want the real spiritual benefit, use the concept of sacrifice psychologically and offer everything that you are doing. Not only pouring ghee in the fire. That's what he said. Now we can go to the next para, which is a very big, almost a 2-page para. So we can read it today and we'll see. We have 8:20, so we have got 15 minutes, but we can read it and maybe discuss a little bit. So one of you has to read. Who will read?
Shall I?
Yes.
Only.
Harika.
No, if anyone else wants to read, I don't know. Otherwise, I will read.
Go ahead. The Vedantic idea.
The Vedantic idea of knowledge does not present the same difficulties. The Gita takes it over at once and completely and throughout the 6 chapters quietly substitutes the still immutable Brahman of the Vedantins, the one without a second immanent in all cosmos. For the still immutable but multiple Purusha of the Sankhyas, it accepts throughout these chapters knowledge and realization of the Brahman as the most important, the indispensable means of liberation, even while it insists on desireless works as an essential part of knowledge. It accepts equally nirvana of the ego in the infinite equality of the immutable, impersonal Brahman as essential to liberation. It practically identifies this extinction with the Sankhya return of the inactive, immutable Purusha upon itself when it emerges out of identification with the actions of Prakriti. It combines and fuses the language of the Vedanta with the language of the Sankhya, as had already indeed been done by certain of the Upanishads. But still, there is a defect in the Vedantic position which has to be overcome. We may perhaps conjecture that at this time the Vedanta had not yet redeveloped the later theistic tendencies which in the Upanishads are already present as an element, but not so prominent as in the Vaishnava philosophies of the later Vedantins, where they become indeed not only prominent but paramount. We may take it that the orthodox Vedanta was, at any rate, in its main tendencies, pantheistic at the basis, monistic at the summit. It knew of the Brahman, one without a second. It knew of the gods, Vishnu, Shiva, Brahma, and the rest, who all resolve themselves into the Brahman. But the one supreme Brahman, as the one Ishvara, Purusha, Deva, words often applied to it in the Upanishads and justifying to that extent, Yet passing beyond the Sankhya and the theistic conceptions was an idea that had fallen from its pride of place. Shall I read the footnote or?
Yes. Go ahead.
This is a little doubtful, but we may say at least that there was a strong tendency in that direction, of which Shankara's philosophy was the last culmination. The names could only be applied in a strictly logical Brahmavada to subordinate or inferior phases of the Brahman idea. The Gita proposes not only to restore the original equality of these names and therefore of the conceptions they indicate, but to go a step further. The Brahman, in its supreme and not in any lower aspect, has to be presented as the Purusha with the lower Prakriti for its Maya. So, to synthesize thoroughly Vedanta and Sankhya and as Ishvara, so to synthesize thoroughly both with yoga. But the Gita is going to represent the Ishvara, the Purushottama, as higher, even than the still and immutable Brahman. And the loss of ego in the impersonal comes in at the beginning as only a great initial and necessary step towards union with the Purushottama. For the Purushottama is the supreme Brahman. It therefore passes boldly beyond the Veda and the Upanishads as they were taught by their best authorized exponents and affirms a teaching of its own which it has developed from them, but which may not be capable of being fitted in within the four corners of their meaning as ordinarily interpreted by the Vedantins. In reality, the idea of the Purushottama is already announced in the Upanishads, though in a more scattered fashion than in the Gita. And as in the Gita, the Supreme Brahman or Supreme Purusha is constantly described as containing in himself the opposition of the Brahman with qualities and without qualities. Nirguna Guni. He is not one of these things to the exclusion of the other, which seems to our intellect to be its contrary. In fact, without this free and synthetic dealing with the letter of the scripture, a work of large synthesis in the then state of conflict between numerous schools and with the current methods of Vedic exegesis would have been impossible.
Exegesis.
Exigent. Exegesis would have been impossible.
Yeah, it's a big para and a lot of implications are there, but we'll take it up next time because we have only 10 minutes. But briefly, very importantly, what it is discussing is the three levels, the Sankhya, the Vedanta, and the Gita, and its final, what Gita is saying. So, it is the difference between the impersonal divine and the personal divine. Okay. And at the highest level, the personality of the divine and the impersonality of the divine are both included in the Ishvara or the Purushottama. Srimdo uses the word Ishvara, and so does the Gita also use the word Ishvara. But Ishvara and Purushottama are both the same thing at the highest level. You can, as I told you, these can be experienced in the lower levels also in brief bits and pieces. But the stable, constant, and eternal experience of the Ishvara and the Purushottama is only at the spiritual supramental level, which is I call the third level. Okay, so it's for our own clarity's sake, we always divide these planes into three bits. First of all, level 1 is our body, mind, life. This is our normal life, and we are in ignorance. We see the many, and we think it to be true. This is absolutely real. Sometimes you may even go to the extent of saying there is nothing else, like the materialist. But even if you believe in the divine, the second level is the spiritual planes of consciousness, which is a fantastic thing. We must not belittle it. To get liberation, to realize that you are not the body, mind, life, and you are pure consciousness. Okay, Chidananda Rupa, Shivoham, Shivoham. It is a great achievement. Okay. I remember when someone told Sri Aurobindo that the Vedanta, the Buddhists are stopping at the level, so ours is far superior to them. Sri Aurobindo said, be careful, be careful. Don't start thinking that you are superior to the others. Do you think that the Buddhist realization is a very small thing? It's a huge thing. We are going beyond that, but that doesn't make it less. The others are not to be belittled. They are very important. So, level 1, the ordinary ignorance. Level 2, the ignorance becomes knowledge. You start seeing the one. You are not identified with your body, mind, life. You realize that you are pure consciousness. Okay? And there also there are 2 types. You either experience yourself as a Purusha, or you experience yourself as a cosmic consciousness. That also is 2. Many variations are there. But that's the Upanishads mainly, they lay stress on the impersonal aspect of the divine. Because when you go there, it's an impersonal aspect of the divine. You experience power, you experience peace, you experience liberation, you experience ananda also perhaps, okay? But liberation and you freedom you enjoy. But nobody is there. At the 3rd level, which you call, that is the Ishvara or the Purushottama, and both the aspects are there. God can be approached in a form. And what is that form? Any form that you conceive of. Okay? He will respond to you in that way. Because he is formless and will take the form in which you want to see him. If you want to see him, if you are a Christian, Christ, if you are a Buddhist, Buddha, if you are a follower of the integral yoga, either Mother or Sri Aurobindo, you will see their forms and they will guide you. But you can also have the impersonal aspect. While you see the form, you also see that they are the impersonal, okay, formless. That also is there. So this is what it basically means is described here, and the later theistic tendencies of the Upanishads. Later on, the personal aspect of the divine also is spoken of in some of the Upanishads, but mainly the stress in the Upanishads is philosophy, and philosophy is naturally the impersonal aspect of the divine. But in the Vaishnava philosophies, okay, there were later so many, the Alvars and the Chaitanya movement, okay, in the Vaishnava devotional aspects, there are so many. Even in Maharashtra, all these saints, there are a huge number of saints in Maharashtra. I just Tukaram, Eknath, and there are so many others, okay. In fact, I'll put them all the names there. They have commented also on many of the Gita and the Upanishads. There are a lot of comments of them. Okay. And in the Tamil Nadu, yeah, the Alvars, the saints. But devotion is the most important aspect. So that aspect is missed in the Sankhya as well as the Upanishads. It is mentioned in the Upanishads, but not with such clear clarity as in the Gita. The Gita makes a very, very clear distinction between the Kshara Purusha, the Akshara Purusha, and the Uttama Purusha. So that is not there in the Upanishad. That's what Sri Aurobindo is pointing out. But a lot of discussion needs to be done, so we'll take it up next time. Okay? So we have got 3-4 minutes. So if you are, if you have any questions, we can discuss that. Okay, not only questions, but any comments also. If you have, we can discuss it. But the details, we'll look at it next time. The Vedantic idea of knowledge does not present the same difficulties. Okay, what is the difficulty in the Sankhya, and what is the difficulty in the Vedantic view, and finally the Gita. So there, all these 3 things will be discussed in great detail. Okay.
Has Mother commented anything about the Vedas?
She has mentioned here and there many times. Yes, she has mentioned, yeah. But not any great in great detail. But there are references to the Vedas. In fact, when she was there with Sat Prem, okay? She has mentioned some of those things. And when she was also with our Neelakanta Shastri was a, a priest in Rameshwaram, okay? And he used to come and meet the mother, and they have even meditated together and all. But he was restricted to the second level. He never knew about the spiritual, the third level. But he even gave mother some mantras to do. And mother, strangely enough, did the mantras, but don't think that mother is doing it at level 2. She is doing it at level 3. Her body is reciting these mantras. Okay. Om Namo Bhagavate Sri Arvindaya. I don't know if she pronounced Sri Arvindaya all the time, but Om Namo Bhagavate. This is mentioned in the agenda again and again. But it's the body that is repeating. Because for this mantras to be repeated, they tell you, it depends on the guru. Sometimes they tell you, do it 100,000 times. 1,00,000 recitations are needed. Then the effect comes through. It's, collectively, it has an effect. So mother has mentioned the Vedas, but that's all the old spirituality. Sometimes she has spoken about that in that way, that these are all the old things and the new things are altogether different. So sometimes one gets the impression that she is not giving full value to the old ones. But what she is actually doing is that she is giving full value to the next step, to concentrate on the next step. Okay? That our aim is now not level 2, but level 3. That's what she is laying stress on. When we saw one in the 1950s, when we got a projector for the cinema, okay, it was offered by Aurora Films from Calcutta, and we had one of the first pictures we saw was a picture called Rani Rashmuni, in which it was the life of Ramakrishna. And she saw that, and she said that this is spirituality, but we are going beyond that. She used the word perime. Perime in French means old, that which has gone. Now we have to go to the next level. So she has mentioned the Vedas, but the whole stress was something far greater. Because the Vedas, as I told you, is not philosophy. It is just a record of experiences with symbols. Okay, there's no philosophy in the Vedas at all. They are just the spiritual journey from the lowest ignorance to the highest, that the experience of the rishis has been compiled together. Okay,
So Rangada, they say the Veda has come from Brahma, Vishnu directly. Something. It is not like that. It has been literally written according to Sri Aurobindo and Mother. From where the Veda has come means it is written by some rishi or something.
Yes, it is compiled by rishis and it is written by rishis, but it's not the rishi who is writing. This you have to understand very clearly. The Vedas are not human creations. They are heard and recorded. Okay?
Okay.
That's why they are called Shruti. Shrutis. Shruti is that which is heard and recorded, not created by the human being. Okay? That's the important. That's why they say the Vedas are not written by human beings. They are heard. And they are heard and written down, recorded only. Okay? Just like automatic writing, na? Shilpa, when Srimda is doing automatic writing, he is not writing. He is just recording what is being told from the higher planes of consciousness. In fact, there's a very interesting small book, 30 pages, called Yogic Sadhan. Okay? Yogic Sadhan. It is Srimda's handwriting, and Srimda had written it. But he says, this is not my work, because it was just recorded. Although many of the ideas are very similar to his own, but he tells very clearly, don't print that book again. Because it's work. Yes, that's right. I have a copy of that. It's a very interesting yogic sadhan, about 30 pages. So that is the reason why the Vedas are coming from the highest level, but they are couched in symbolic languages. Okay, we have to understand who is Vishnu, who is Varuna, who is Mitra. Bhaga, who are these gods? What do they represent? Okay. So they're all symbolic. Okay.
Oh,
Yeah. Okay. We stop here today. Sunki.
That means the Vedic rishis had only reached the illumined mind and overmind, correct?
The Vedic rishis. There's mention. No, Srimda refers in the Life Divine, he very clearly refers back to the Vedas where they mention the Satyam Ritam Brihat. Okay. So they did get glimpses of the supermind. I don't know if they realized the supermind. I don't think so. But certainly they knew about the supermind. Srimda mentioned that very clearly in the Life Divine. Okay. And also, they knew that the physical world is not unreal. It is real and there's a connection between them. The Vedas were very great realizations, but they were forgotten. For 5,000-6,000 years, they were forgotten and replaced by the Vedanta. And then now it is being revived again and shown those ideas that the world is not to be rejected. It's a Vedic idea. Okay. And the Vedic idea basically was this: heaven is my father and the world is my mother. So they are not to be rejected. Both are real and both are connected. Okay, that's right. Okay.
Merci beaucoup.
Okay. Baruwa.
Au revoir, bonne journée.
Bonjour.
Rangada.
Have a nice day.